I'm thinking about how I can make more money from what I already have in my business instead of creating something different, because I'm not in the season of my life or my business right now where I have the time to create something brand new from scratch. Welcome to the Business Edit Podcast, a podcast about redefining productivity for the modern woman in business and finding ways to work smarter, not harder, in business and life. I'm your host, Jade Boyd, an MBA, business minimalist, and productivity coach. I help overwhelmed business owners simplify and scale their service-based businesses by doing less but better. I help my clients create business minimalist strategies and systems that allow them to pursue ambitious goals while working at a human pace. On this podcast, we'll explore simple ways to grow your business with a life-first approach. If you're ready to scale your business, bring order to chaos, ditch the busy work, and spend more time living your life than managing your life, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Business Edit Podcast. I don't know about you, but annual planning is one of my absolute favorite things as a business owner. And so I thought it would be fun to take you behind the scenes and show you a little bit about how I am personally planning for 2025 in my business, based on the season of life and business that I'm in right now, and take you behind the scenes for all things goal setting, annual planning, marketing strategy, what's working in my business, what I'm going to stop doing next year. We're going to chat about all the things. So because this episode actually got pretty long as I started to outline all of the things that I wanted to tell you about, this is going to be a 2-part series. So as you're listening to this, if you have a moment to hit subscribe, if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, you won't want to miss part 2, which is going to air next week, so you can catch the last half of this episode, because there are quite a few things that I would like to share with you. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So the first thing that I'm doing this year that is different than other years is I'm actually scheduling a retreat to go to a hotel for 2 nights and get the first 2 full nights of sleep that I've had in months, and get the time away from home. Having a 5-month-old, even if I'm in a separate room, like I can always hear her, right? And with breastfeeding, like I'm going to have to pump or feed her. And for me, it's easier to just feed her. And so if I don't want to get interrupted, I literally have to leave the house. And I've never scheduled a business retreat. I mean, I've scheduled like an extra night in a hotel to get a project done, but I've never done an annual planning retreat. So I'm pretty excited for that. And it's coming up in December, but leading into my retreat, I'm already doing so much reflecting, and making a lot of decisions, honestly, preemptively. And I'm going to use that time away to finalize the planning, to finalize the reflecting, solidify my plan for 2025, and then actually dig into some of the bigger projects that I need to do to actually implement my plan, and maybe even batch some podcast episodes while I'm away as well, which would be phenomenal. But this is the first year that I'm scheduling a retreat, and I would highly recommend it if you're having trouble stepping outside of your business or finding time to work on your business rather than in your business. Scheduling some time away can give you really good accountability for actually digging into your numbers and getting clear, and sometimes just getting distance from your business and getting that outside perspective is so helpful to help you realize things that you cannot see if you're sitting in your daily environment, just sitting at your desk. If you think of any time that you've taken a business retreat or even gone on vacation, our minds work differently when we get outside of our everyday environment. And so if it's not something you're in the habit of doing, I would highly recommend at least going to a coffee shop or your local library or a co-working space, whatever that might look like for you, and getting some distance from your day-to-day life so that you can get that creative spark and that like outside your business perspective as you're looking at 2025. And if you're the type of person who schedules this time away or schedules time to go to a coffee shop, but continually schedules over it, like a client has an emergency and you're like, you know what, I have this time open, right? So I'm just going to schedule it then and push my time for my own business to the side. If you find that you're in the habit of doing that, please make sure you get the accountability that you need to set this time aside, because this is just so important and so huge in terms of building a business that is supporting your life rather than running your life, because there are sometimes big changes that need to happen. And the sooner that you're able to plan for those and get that perspective and make those decisions, the sooner you're going to step into a business that actually feels good for you. So please do not neglect this. Get the accountability. Like, schedule time with another business owner or a friend, so that you have somebody holding you accountable to actually showing up. Put in your earbuds so that you're not distracted, whatever it takes to make this time work for your business. And this is one of the most common things that I hear from people who sign up for my quarterly reset program, is that it really just helps them have the accountability that it takes to go through this process of planning and have the time set aside and have the accountability knowing that this is only like the 5 days that I'm going to get to work on this and go through this process with one-on-one support from a coach. And so it actually makes a real deadline for yourself, right? So whatever you can do to give yourself a real deadline, do it. And if the quarterly reset can help you do that, it is open right now for enrollment. So you can definitely head to the show notes and join that 5-day strategy intensive and get built-in accountability and also an outside perspective from me and other business owners on your business as well. So the first thing I'm doing that's different is scheduling time away from my house and from my office to go through my annual planning process and solidify all these decisions and start actually getting into the work of prepping for things that are going to happen in 2025 in December. The second thing that I've been doing over these past few weeks, as I've been working in my business and as I've just been reflecting on this year as a whole, is just taking notice and jotting down what's working and what's not working. And so a few different things that I've noticed so far. First of all, digging into offers that are working and offers that are not working. And even within your offers, even if it's the best selling offer, what within that offer is working for you and not working for you. So a few episodes back, I talked about maternity leave this year, how I took 8 weeks and how it felt coming back, being that my daughter was diagnosed with hip dysplasia and we moved unexpectedly. The right house came up. And so it was just a really hectic season coming back to business after maternity leave, especially having it be my first maternity leave and first child. It was a big adjustment. And so in the future, knowing that my offers need to work around me having at least a 16-week maternity leave. And that is something that I realized this year that I'm going to be making adjustments to my offers for next year in terms of coaching and passive income, making sure that I can hit my revenue goals if I take 16 weeks off. And I do not plan to take a maternity leave next year immediately. I mean, anything could happen, but fingers crossed, we do not have 2 under 2. That's not my plan A. But I do want to start making those changes now so that I can set myself up for success and my business up for success, knowing that I can take 16 weeks off and still pay myself consistently every single month. And so if you right now, if you're looking at your profit and loss statement for the year and all you have is one big line item that says revenue and you don't have that broken down by your different offers, make sure you take the time to actually break that down. And the financial metrics spreadsheet that we use in the quarterly reset and we use in all of my coaching programs to project your financials, it does make it really, really easy to break down your numbers by your offers and also by your months. So making sure that you understand what your seasons in business are, what the busy seasons are and aren't. And what I noticed is that for my business, at least for coaching, people want to invest in coaching and get into coaching programs in September and December. And that's kind of the busy season and where I noticed the height of interest for my programs. And so next year, I'm definitely going to be planning my launches around that and just understanding that that is going to be the easiest season for me to sell my offers. And why not just lean into that instead of trying to fight it? So again, along the lines of noticing what's working and not working for you, dig into your offers, not only which offers are selling the best, but also which offers you like the best, which offers are most aligned in your business, which offers you feel best about selling and most confident in, things that you want to tweak in your offers to make them feel better to you, to make them more aligned to the type of life that you want to live, and also which month your offers are selling the best so you can plan your promotions around selling the offers in the seasons that they're easiest to sell in and work a little bit smarter instead of harder. Another area that is good to notice what's working and what's not working, broadly speaking, marketing, right? We want to know not only what channels are working, but also the types of content that are working and not working. And overall in my business, what I've noticed time and time again, month after month this year, is that the podcast and my email list are the best marketing channels for me. The podcast, especially, nobody comes to me for coaching without having binged my podcast. I think every single person who's applied to work with me has listened to the podcast consistently and already gotten the vibe check that we're a good fit to work together, and already got a really good idea of how I think about business from a minimalist perspective, my ideas on strategy and marketing, just my values overall, knowing that it's a good fit before they even ask me or apply for one of my programs. So the podcast is definitely the number one. It's also the funnest for me to work on. Honestly, it feels super fun. I get to collaborate with a bunch of different business owners. It's feeling a lot lower lift after 100 plus episodes, 110 plus, I guess, at this point. And then repurposing that into email, but also noticing that other than Instagram, which is like fun to hang out, and I've built relationships and like keep up with people and potential clients on Instagram, but when I'm trying to fill seats in a coaching program or trying to sell an offer, both ongoing emails, like the regular emails that are in live time that I'm sending to my email list every month, and also the sales funnels that I set up before going on maternity leave that lead into my passive offers, that is the number one way that I'm actually making money. I know that's harder to track from Instagram, and that relationship building piece definitely plays a role in my sales funnel, so it's not going away, but it's definitely not the most impactful channel for actually driving sales in my business. And then the worst channel that's not working is Pinterest. And I have tried to get Pinterest to work for the podcast mostly, getting more traffic to the podcast, more listeners and downloads for the podcast, and getting more downloads for lead generators. That's really what I've focused on as a service provider, not directly selling my services through Pinterest, because I don't think that's how people are using the platform, but creating content that people want to consume and marketing it on Pinterest. And we've been really, really consistent, and month by month have tweaked the strategy for over a year now. And it's still just like, for the time and effort that we're putting into it, and for me, since my VA is doing it, the money I'm paying her to do it every month is just not worth the results that we're getting. Not that it's not worth it to be on Pinterest. I think that there's value there, but if I'm paying for it, I would rather put those marketing dollars into a different channel like the podcast that I'm already seeing work really, really well. One other thing to think about when you're thinking about what worked and didn't work this year, I find it's helpful to think about like, what was your best month or your best day of the year, and then what was your worst month and your worst day of the year. So for me, I think my best month of the year was really being able to go on maternity leave and get paid regularly, knowing that my clients were having a great experience with support coaches, and also having set up my funnels so that I was getting passive income through digital course sales and seeing those come in as I was like completely able to have ownership of my own time and give my daughter all the attention that she needed and rest as much as I wanted to during that time. That was definitely the best season. For life reasons, obviously becoming a mom and having that time was really, really special, but also in my business, just seeing that it could be successful without me having to be physically present. That was the best feeling ever. The worst feeling, and I already mentioned this, was coming back from maternity leave with everything that was unexpected that went on during my maternity leave, and coming back so soon. Like literally the week that we moved into our new house felt very, very chaotic, and was still not sleeping well, obviously, because I had like a 6-week-old. So that was the hardest, and something that I've already said moving forward, like, let's not do that again. Let's plan to at least have the option to do things differently. So again, just coming back overarching, looking at your year, maybe flipping back through your journal, flipping back through notes that you've taken during CEO days, whatever that might look like for you, just take note of what worked and what didn't work. And that can give you a really good idea of how you need to tweak your strategy or change your processes moving into 2025. Okay, my last tip for this episode before we take a break and leave the rest for part 2 is I'm thinking about how I can make more money from what I already have in my business instead of creating something different, because I'm not in the season of my life or my business right now where I have the time to create something brand new from scratch. And so instead, I'm thinking about how can I take what I already have, what's already working in my business, make it even better, or make more money from it. So I would highly suggest you think about this in this way as well, because I think as business owners, especially if you're a creative service provider, you get so many good ideas, right? And it's so easy to get that fresh start energy and that emotional high from wanting to do something brand new. It's very shiny and it's very distracting, But unless you take the time to actually go all in on your ideas until they are as successful as they can be, they're profitable, they're running on their own, they're updated and like a really great experience for your clients, right? Until you get to that point, it's probably not a good idea to start doing something new from scratch, because any offer you create is going to take time for it to be successful. It's going to take that learning curve. And of course, if you're creating something upfront from scratch, whether it's a course or a group coaching program or even doing one-on-one coaching, knowing that you want to offer a framework or something like that, it's going to take you time to set everything up in the beginning. So for me, I actually had this aha moment by talking to one of my business edit clients, because a few of my business edit clients are going to roll off my coaching roster in December. And so I was chatting with some of them on, whether they wanted to renew for next year or how I can best serve them if they're not wanting to commit to another 12 months of coaching. And most of them are in the place where 12 months of coaching and going through the business edit once gave them a really solid framework moving forward. And they don't need another 12 months, but they do want some support moving forward. And one of my clients gave me the idea to continue doing quarterly resets for them, because it's something that we've done in the business edit every 3 months. So every 3 months we have a longer coaching call where we go through my quarterly reset process. And that's been a really, really helpful process for them to go through. I also launched it live for the first time this spring as a 5-day coaching intensive for people who were not in the business edit, but wanted a shorter term coaching program. And it went really, really well. And actually the previous fall, I did it an in-person workshop where I went through a similar framework to the quarterly reset, doing quarterly planning. It wasn't as in-depth as I rolled it into in the live group coaching program, but it was basically the same process. And then I turned it into a course this summer. And knowing that that is something that I can offer new clients who aren't ready for the business edit, who aren't ready to jump into a 12-month coaching program, but also offer to my past clients who have already done the business edit, but still want seasonal support and creating that plan and getting that outside perspective as they're planning every 90 days. That was just a really big light bulb moment for me. And so as far as offers go, that's not something that I did regularly this year. I only offered it in Q2, mostly because I was on maternity leave this summer. But that's also something that's a little bit more sustainable for me, because I can definitely serve 10 clients in that capacity for a whole week. That's not an issue. The problem is with the business edit being 12 months, can I serve like 10 clients or 15 clients every single week out of the year and still live the life that I want to live and take a 16-week maternity leave? Probably not. And so moving forward, the business edit is going to be a even smaller group coaching program. I think in 2025, I'm going to limit it to 5. And again, I haven't done my planning retreat yet, so that might change a little bit. And also based on who applies and if they're a really good fit, that's a little bit flexible for now, but I know that I can't get 16 people in that offer, which originally when I created the program was my goal. And now I know that's just not sustainable. So the quarterly reset has been a light bulb moment for me, knowing that I can serve more service providers as a coach in that capacity really easily and serve my past clients. So as far as making more money or not creating something from scratch, using what you already have first, that was huge for me, or is going to be huge for me in 2025. And then the other thing I'll say about making more money from what you already have, another thing to think about before you jump to creating a new offer, like, have you actually talked about your current offers? I see so many business owners be like, well, this isn't selling, it isn't selling. And I have to ask the question, are your numbers just reflecting the effort you're putting into selling? Like, does it even have a sales page? Is your sales page good? Do you have an opt-in for it or a sales funnel for it? Are you talking about it regularly? Have you put the effort into making it a program or an offer that you're really proud of? Have you even tried it? Like, have you taken anybody through the process just to learn what works and what doesn't work and to iteratively improve on it? Or are you just sitting, thinking about this offer, having it on your website and just overthinking it till the end of time and not talking about it at all because you're not confident yet? Like, you have to be really honest with yourself about those questions. But something to think about if you want to make more money from what you already have, instead of constantly being in that cycle of creating something new that isn't successful before you trash it and start something else. Have you talked about it? Have you really done all that you can do to sell that offer and be confident in selling that offer before you go on and create something new? Another question one of my clients asked me recently is like, should I invest in this course that I'm thinking about? Do you think it's a good idea? And she was asking me about a very specific course. But what I will tell anyone who's thinking about investing in a course is, have you already gone through the courses that you already have access to and implemented them? Or whatever learning or education that you currently have access to that you've invested money in, have you made the most of those, actually listened to them, actually applied them to your business and implemented them fully? If you haven't, then maybe it's time to go back and access some of those things that are collecting dust on your laptop and make the plan to actually use them before you buy something else. And for me, two things that I want to make better use of in 2025. First of all, I enrolled in Digital Course Academy with Amy Porterfield a couple years ago, and I did go through it, and I did use it to recreate my Organize Your Business course about 2 years ago. And I haven't jumped in it since. And I know that it's been updated since then. And it definitely is a course that is way more than just creating digital courses. There are so many marketing lessons in terms of creating sales funnel and how to launch an offer, how to create landing pages. And I know that there's just so much more that I could learn and apply to all of the other offers in my business from that course. So that's something that I really want to go back to. And then the second thing is a membership with my friend Jenny Roth, who has been on the podcast before. She was actually one of the very first people to come on the podcast. So maybe we're due to have her back, because her Email Insiders membership is absolutely amazing. And if you haven't heard of it, I'm going to link it in the show notes. This is something that I use on a weekly basis. She includes weekly email templates, but she also includes so many different sales funnels. She has a Voxer channel where you can ask her any email questions. She does regular copy audits. There is just so much included in this membership at a phenomenal rate. And I know that there's so much more that I could do with this membership. And like I said, I'm already using it on a weekly basis, but there's just so much in there that I want to use so much more than what I'm currently using right now. Like I said, email is one of my best marketing channels, and I want to be able to fully utilize that and optimize my email funnels that are working okay, but I know could be better. And so that's another area that I'm using what I already have access to. And if you're interested in that, it's something that I recommend to all of my clients. And if you're DIYing any of your email, or if you want to build an email list in 2025, you need this membership. So head on over to the show notes and grab my link to join Email Insiders. Okay, so to recap what we talked about so far, first of all, making intentional time to set aside and look at your goals. Something I'm doing new this year is going to a hotel for that. Second, just generally taking notice of what worked and what didn't work this year. And this can be in the categories that I talked about, but also just in general. As you're thinking back, your mind will tell you the big things. Like, you know what worked and didn't work, right? Definitely dig into your numbers to get more insight, but overall, what worked and didn't work for you this year? What felt good and what didn't feel good? And then third, how can you make more money by implementing what you already have access to or what you already have created, instead of jumping to creating something new in your business in 2025? And there is so much more to dig into as far as how I'm planning for 2025. So again, if you're not already subscribed to the podcast, go ahead and hit follow or subscribe depending on what platform that you're on, and join me next week where I will take you through part 2 and a few more things that I'm doing and that I've noticed this year and I'm going to change for 2025. So until next time, business minimalists, take what you learned today and get 1% better this week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Business Edit podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, I'd be so grateful if you take a screenshot and share it on Instagram, tagging me at jadeboyd.co. I'm on a mission to empower a new generation of women to become the types of wives, moms, and business owners that they've always wanted to be. Because empowered women change their families and communities for the better, and this is how we'll change the world. Sharing your takeaways from this episode on Instagram will help more women in business discover helpful episodes and level up in life and business each week. Don't forget to check out the show notes for the tools and resources mentioned in today's episode, because good ideas don't grow businesses. Action does. I'll see you next time on the Business Edit podcast.